What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Michael and welcome to FudgeMuppet. As you may know, I've recently come home to Australia after my time in the Greenbrier for the Fallout 76 event in West Virginia, and I've brought back a bunch of information regarding questions I really wanted answered. One of those questions was actually a group of questions, all relating to how stealth is going to work in this new Fallout game, and more specifically, how it's going to function in an online game that involves things such as PvP. So I attended some officially planned interviews, but also just talked to developers during the celebration events, and I found out some new info. If you're keen to hear everything I learned, be sure to subscribe because I'm going to be explaining it all in videos on the channel very soon. Also, like all this pre-beta footage, remember it's recorded in 4K off an Xbox, and at times there were some frame rate issues. Also, being pre-beta, this is an early build of the game and mechanics are still subject to change. With that said, here's what I was told regarding my various stealth questions. So my concerns with stealth were basically surrounding PvP and how stealth perks would help the player. For example, say there's a perk card that makes you 20% harder to detect. How will that transition to PvP when detection would simply be based on the enemy seeing you with their own eyes? And also remember that you can see other players on your paper map when you open it. They're marked on the map so you can see their location. I wondered if there were perk cards we could get to maybe silence our movement and muffle us, so then we could sneak up on other players, at least without making sound. I also wondered if perk cards could increase our stealth damage multipliers, but then couldn't fathom how multipliers would even be applied. How would the game know if a player has detected you or not? What if I can see you but the game thinks that I can't? Anyways, it's all very confusing, and to be honest, even after what I was told, I still don't have 100% of the full picture, but I have a way better idea of how the stealth mechanics work than I did before. So straight off the bat, the way stealth mechanics work in Fallout 76 with non-player enemies like monsters and creatures is pretty much the same as Fallout 4. You can tell whether they've found you or not based on if it says hidden or danger, and you know when they're searching for you because it says caution. The agility stat not only affects your number of action points in VATS, but also your ability to sneak, so invest in this stat if you want to make a stealthy character. When I attacked enemies while hidden using stealth mode, I got a 2x damage multiplier, and while I didn't get any stealth-related perk cards during my session, I'm sure there's very likely going to be a perk card that raises this damage multiplier. Perk cards to increase movement speed while crouched would also be awesome. But yeah, stealth versus non-player enemies in Fallout 76 is more or less the same as it's always been and how it is in Fallout 4, but the question we're all wondering is how it's going to work in PvP, the player versus player aspect of the game. So here's what I found out. Now, as I said, other players in the game can see you on the map, but when you crouch and you use stealth, your little pip that shows you to everyone actually disappears. Now, this is the main thing we were all told at the event, that with stealth mode you disappear from the map. However, what we weren't all told is that it actually doesn't happen instantly. So at one of the parties, I spoke to a dev who actually explained this to me. He said that you can't just stand somewhere and teabag the ground, causing your map marker to just constantly disappear and then reappear for everyone else. So it seems you'll have to commit to stealth a little before you get the benefits of disappearing from the map. Sadly, I can't tell you how long it takes as I didn't have access to the maps of my enemies and we were just testing so many things in the small amount of time we had, but that's what I did discover. You disappear from the map after you stay in stealth mode for a bit. Now, after I found this out, I had even more questions because, as you may or may not know, PvP is consensual. Other players have to agree to PvP battle you, so we'll probably have a separate video coming on PvP, but more or less the way it was explained in official interviews is that shooting someone once is a way of saying, hey, you want to go? Do you want to fight? And if they say, yeah, I want to fight, then it's on. Now, the problem with this for me is how am I supposed to sneak up on someone and cut their head off or snipe them from a distance if PvP requires consent? Yes, there are ways you can murder someone, which I'll cover in a PvP video, but the main point to know for now is that you are severely nerfed when trying to kill someone if they haven't agreed to fight you back. To me, this seemed like a big issue for PvP stealth players because you'd have to blow your cover to initiate PvP. And then what, go and hide again? So I actually brought this up in interviews and was told that unfortunately this seems to be the case with PvP right now. Being able to sneak up on someone as a stealth character and take them down with PvP mechanics isn't really handled because it doesn't fit in too well with the whole idea of needing the other player's permission to fight. If you can't see someone, someone, then you can't shoot them back to initiate normal PvP. I was told that stealth is simply not a mechanic used to initiate PvP, and that's just the way it is. However, after pressing them further on the topic, I was told that while stealth isn't a mechanic used to initiate PvP, once you're actually in PvP, for example in a cycle of getting revenge on one another, or when you're hunting other players like those who are murderers and are wanted, or when you engage in consensual PvP and things get drawn out and you run off into the foliage, which does sometimes happen, then it can become useful. You'll find that the landscape in Fallout 76 is far lusher than any other Fallout game, and you can really go crouch and slip away into the dense greenery. So physically hiding yourself is far easier in this game, and then once you're ducking around and sleuthing about, you'll disappear off the map. I was told that at this point, when you disappear from the map, you can get that stealth multiplier against other players. So developers did confirm for me that you can get the stealth damage multiplier against real players as well as creatures, but it just seems like you won't be able to live out the fantasy of being able to find a random wanderer in the distance and then just take them out with your sniper rifle in one shot because you feel like it. Still, at least we know we can use stealth in PvP, and I can tell you hunting down wanted players is super fun for everyone on the map. Anyways, I'm still not 100% sure on how the game will know if you can see an enemy player or not. For example, if I scoped in on a bush and could see the enemy through my sights, but they were crouched and weren't on the map, and then they shot me, would they get the multiplier? Or maybe not because I've spotted them and the game knows? The problem with this is, what if I'm looking right at them so the game thinks I've seen them, but actually they're in a bush and in reality are undetected to me personally because I don't know that they're there? In that case, they should get the multiplier because I don't actually know where they are. Anyways, I think shooting from behind or from the side would work best. When I asked more questions on the difference between enemy detection and player detection, I was told that it's the same detection code that's running on the server. I don't entirely understand what that entails and how it will work properly, but at least we know there are PvP stealth mechanics that have been set up to make it part of the game, even if you can't just ambush strangers like some people were hoping for. Non-officially, I was told that stealth works how you'd expect, and that if the player can't see you, it'll work. One final point I'd like to bring attention to is that the perception stat says it affects your awareness of nearby enemies and your ability to detect stealthy movement. So maybe the higher your perception is, the harder it will be for real player enemies to be undetected to your character in PvP. And that concludes this video on stealth mechanics in Fallout 76, what I was told in the official interviews, and also what I found out unofficially from people who worked on the game mechanics. I think we've pretty much pieced it together now, but I'm still waiting to see what perk cards there are which take your stealth game to the next level, and I also still want to find out the really precise specifics regarding disappearing off the map, and how PvP detection works, and whether or not it's accurate enough. So it does seem like stealth will be a fun part of PvP, it's just that you won't be able to begin PvP with the drop on your enemy unless they're wanted. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something new, and if you enjoyed it and you want to get more Fallout 76 content, be sure to subscribe as we've got heaps more coming. My name is Michael, social media links are in the description, and I look forward to nerding out with you again very soon.